All right, guys, welcome back to part 2 of this series on this Tacoma. Now we're joined here with Michael again. Today we're showing you guys how to clay, polish, and protect this paint. Now we did the first episode, we did a full in-depth cleaning of the wheels, the undercarriage, we washed the truck, we dried it, and now it's in the bay and ready for the next step of this detailing process. So first things first, Michael, is we're gonna start off with claying. Are you familiar with claying? Have you clayed before?
Yeah, I've gotten to, that was probably the first thing that I tried to do myself, you know, before I got into, you know, enthusiast polishing.
Exactly. So we have our clay bar here. Now the paint, it's not too rough of in a shape, which is good. I chose the OG clay bar because this clay bar is a mixture between a light and a medium. So it's gonna give us kind of like the best of both worlds as far as, you know, giving us the ease of use of removing light contaminants from the paint with ease. So the reason that we have different grades in the first place, we have our light, we have our OG, which is a mixture between the light medium, and the heavy. Now the heavy is gonna be the stickiest one. So it's not to say that if you use it on a vehicle that's lightly contaminated, it's gonna ruin it. It's just gonna be a little bit more stickier. So, you know, for a newer car, light clay bar is a little bit more ideal because it's gonna allow you to just quickly, more smoothly remove those embedded contaminants. You know, it's not so bad, so you shouldn't be there all day, you know, cleaning it.
Right.
So that's why we have these different grades. Now, me personally, I love the OG because it's a mixture between like a light and a medium. So whether or not, you know, the paint's a really bad shape or if it's like, you know, not so bad, then you're kind of covered on both occasions. Cool. So I'm gonna hand this over to you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna grab myself another chunk. Now, one other thing is that, you know, you don't want to grab the whole thing. I don't know if you've heard, but if you drop your clay bar, it's kind of ruined. You want to toss it out because it's kind of like a piece of gum, you know? You don't drop a piece of gum on the floor and continue chewing it, right? I mean,
of course. Why would anybody want
Never
to do
mind.
that? No,
I asked the wrong person. All right. So yeah, you wouldn't, you know, drop a piece of gum on the ground, continue chewing it because it collects dirt, rocks, debris. So pretty self-explanatory. So right now we're going to start off this process with the hood. Now, if you guys see, the hood is pretty scratched up. But before we get into the polishing, we do want to make sure that it's prepped. So we want to make sure that there's no contaminant that's going to interfere, because what ends up happening is, and I've seen this happen to a lot of people, they'll wash their car, they'll go straight into polishing, and what ends up happening is all the contamination that's in the paint is going to get into your pad, and then you're going to, you know, scratch up your paint. So it's kind of like, you know, counteractive. So especially if you're trying to get rid of scratches, it's kind of pointless to do it. So you may as well decontaminate the paint, ensure that there's nothing on there so that the paint correction stage is smooth and you achieve the best results.
Fantastic.
So, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. I'm gonna hop on over to this side.
All right.
You can stick on this side as well.
Great.
You've used it before, clay bar, pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Spray a nice coat, make sure that you spray a nice even coat. Now you don't want to be stingy with it, okay? Don't be stingy with the lube. So spray enough lubrication on there, make sure that the surface is nice and slick, because we don't want the clay bar sticking to the surface. We want it gliding.
Oh, stuff smells so good.
It does. So you can go ahead and blot it onto like a little patty that you can kind of grab with your forefingers.
Okay.
And then that way you have a small piece. You don't have a huge chunk to worry about. Especially when you're working on vertical panels, the last thing you want to worry about is having a huge chunk. It gets caught on an area that doesn't have lube, it gets stuck, falls on the ground, and there you go. So we'll start off this with the clay bar. Clay bar is so, it's going to remove all the embedded contamination. So, you know, whether or not you feel it on your paint, you know, especially if you have like a lighter color like white, you'll end up seeing like little yellow, brown specks on the paint. All that stuff is industrial fallout. Rail dust that lands on your paint, it sits on there, it makes its way into the pores of your paint, and it kind of stays in there, you know? And over the course of, you know, a couple years, that contaminant is going to start, you know, etching its way into the finish of your paint, permanently causing damage.
Wow.
Yeah, so pretty much once you're all done, you'll know when it's pretty much gliding on the paint. So once you don't feel it kind of like, you know, picking up anything, then you'll know that you're done. You grab a microfiber towel and wipe off the excess of the clay lubricant. So normally, whenever you clay, I recommend that you do the whole thing.
Sure.
So clay bar the entire thing. That way, whenever you get into polishing, you don't have to worry about, you know, having to stop, clay bar this section, polish it, move on to the next area, clay bar, polish it, and it just kind of, you're going back and forth, you know? So it's better just to kind of do the whole thing in one motion, do the whole clay bar, go panel by panel around the car, and then, you know, just do the polishing just all the way around as well.
Great. But this is Hollywood.
Hollywood, baby. All right, so with that being said, right now what we're gonna do is focus on the hood. So we haven't clayed the rest of the vehicle. We have clayboard the hood, so we can proceed with polishing the hood. So right here, we have our entire line of compounds and polishes. Now, do you know why we have multiple of each one?
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding and speaking with the folks at the detail garage, basically the goal is that they're going to be different. Is coarseness the right word?
Exactly.
But the different amount of scratching, and so the way that it was explained to me, and I think this is quite smart, is that you want to do as little scratching as possible. So you try to use the 38, I think, is the smoothest. 32
just
being
starting off finer, right?
Yeah, finest,
your clear coat does have a lifespan. It has a thickness, and every time you polish, you kind of wear it down slightly. So the last thing that you want to do is go with the super aggressive compound every weekend, polishing your paint. So in our case, we're trying to work as little as possible and without cutting as much as we can. Now, this right here, we have an entire V-line. Now, one easy way I like to kind of label this so you don't get confused with all these numbers. The higher the number, the finer it is. So just think of sandpaper.
Right.
Lower the number, more aggressive. So in this case, it'd be our V32, which is our extreme grade compound. So if you feel this product in your fingers, it'll actually be very gritty as compared to like the 38, which is more of a finer polish, since it's more of a cream, more of a smooth cream.
Cool.
Let's leave it like that. So anywhere in between, you have your V34, which is also a hybrid grade compound. Now this is great for stuff like this where you may or may not, well in this case, I can for sure for a fact tell you that it's gonna need a compound.
Right.
Now generally we recommend going with, like I said, something finer. So in this case, I wouldn't necessarily go with the V38 as much because this is more of a final grade polish.
Oh,
so
more of a finisher?
Yeah, more of a finisher.
Okay.
So in this case, I would kind of like just put this one to the side for now because it's still great for like, once we're done correcting the paint, just kind of, get that final level of high shine clarity and smoothness. In this case, I would say start off with V36.
Oh,
now,
even for us?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So even though we know this is going to need a compound, it's still nice to know, the type of paint that you're working on. Because as you know, all paints are different. You have European paint, American paint, stuff like that. Different manufacturers, they use different chemicals, different material. So in this case, I highly recommend going with the least aggressive approach, which I would say is V36. Okay. And we're going to pair it with a cutting pad. So instead of us going with like a finer polishing pad, we're going to use it with a cutting pad because then that way we use the cutting polish with the cutting pad and we get more of a medium level cut. You can use it with the polishing pad, but that'd be more of a finer cut basis. So if you have more of a, I guess a car that you haven't polished in about a year, has like fine scratches, and that's a great route to go.
Oh, great.
So in this case right now we have our Torque 15 DA polishers. I'm going to go ahead and give you an orange pad there. All right. I'm going to put one on my machine over here. And then we're going to start off with that V36. We're going to set that down. Then we're also going to get some pad conditioner. Now, pad conditioner, you have a bottle right there.
Oh, okay, great.
This is great to lubricate your pad. So these are brand new pads. So you want to make sure that they're primed and ready for you to cut. Now, this is going to help you so that you don't build up any excess heat. Because as you can imagine, with the friction that's created when you're using the machine onto the paint, it does create a friction, which breaks down the abrasives within the product. So the last thing that you want to do is create excess friction, which can lead to, burning the paint, holograms and stuff like that. So that's why you have a product like pad conditioner, which helps you prevent that. It also lubricates the pad, so you have a smoother transition when you're going from like left to right on the panel that you're working on.
Oh, cool.
So with this right here, you don't need to go crazy. I usually just give it like one light spritz from a little bit of a way. There you go. Ooh. And you're all good to go. And this is something that you can also like just kind of have with you as you're doing this because, your pad's going to build up heat. So anytime it does build up heat or, you still want to finish the section, you can just spray a little bit more. Just make sure that your pad's nice and cool.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Forgive me if that's not straight. That's pretty good to me.
But you got to remember that this is paint. It's such
it's
an
like,
odd hood design.
It's like a weird like lip right there. All right, so with that being said, I usually do like, we have this whole right side of the hood.
Right.
I usually try to keep it small, like a 2x2 section. So in this case, if you want to do here, if you want to do here, I would probably do this section right here.
Yeah,
just
maybe right
it's more
here.
flat.
Yeah.
So you can do this little small section, 2x2. I wouldn't go any higher from like maybe like up to here.
Okay.
So you can kind of focus on here, this section to where like you get this little lip right here.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that'd be great. Now,
So,
and do you recommend, doing the dabbing of the, various compounds on the?
So whenever you're like working the product, the last thing that you want to do is, set it on the paint, turn it on, and then it flings all over the place. So in this case, like you said, you want to, you know, distribute it onto the section that you're going to be working in. In this case, we're going to start off right here. Okay. So you can start off by just blotting it into this little section here.
All right.
And just like that, now you want to grab your cord. And I would recommend wrapping it around, or not around your neck, but over your shoulder.
What type of place is this?
I think one video I said that.
So I was strangled at Chemicalguys.
So having it over your shoulder just ensures you that this right here, you know, if you don't have it on there, just imagine you're polishing it, you're hitting all the stuff over here. Yeah. And then when you have it over your shoulder, you prevent it from hitting the lower parts of your car.
Cool.
So now that you have that set up, I would say now you can start the machine on the surface on speed setting 1, and then you're going to furthermore kind of like blend this product into this area that you're working it in. So you can turn it on with the little plus setting.
Oh, put it on plus. All right.
Cool. Yeah, in this case, you can just do it pretty fast. You don't have to like, you know, go slow or anything like that. That's more like when you're working the product.
Oh, all right. I dig it.
At this point, you can turn it off.
All right. Negative?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So at this point right now, we're gonna go ahead and turn it on to a higher speed setting and work in this product. So as you guys can see right here, it's more of a white kind of color. Whenever you're working the product, the abrasives that are within the product break down, they become clear. So once you kind of see more of a transparent kind of look, then that's when you'll know like the product's fully broken down. You can stop, turn off your machine, wipe it off, and inspect the results.
Okay, great.
So that's what I want you to do right now. I want you to go ahead and just do this little section. Okay. Left and right, up and down. Don't put heavy pressure on the machine. Just make sure that your back plate is spinning and oscillating at the same time.
Great. Cool. All right, what speed should I put it on here?
Now, on usually something like this, I usually give it about 4 clicks. Oh, right. That'd be like speed setting 4.
Great.
Yeah, that's just kind of like a good number to go with. You know.
Cool.
Yeah, I know this is, you mentioned that you had off camera, we talked about you had a Torque X.
Yeah, mine just has the rotary dial.
Yeah, so on this one right here, like I mentioned, it has double the power almost. So you have the Torque X, which has an 8mm throw, which is pretty much the amount that it's going to throw off from the axis of the center of the machine.
Oh, so the distance it oscillates?
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So in this case, you have a 15mm throw. So as you can imagine, almost twice of what you're used to. So just keep that in mind whenever you're doing this. You're not gonna have to like be like, you know, left, right, up and down. In this case, you probably do like left, right. You'll probably be done with the section that you're doing.
Okay, so let's go for it.
Yeah.
Was that enough?
I would say just maybe go a little bit slower. Oh. Then that way you have more time to kind of like have every, you know, section of the panel kind of have the same work time. Okay. So then that way you're not like, you know, left, right, you know, trying to rush it. Because if you rush it, you're not gonna, you know, nothing good comes out of it.
Yeah, I'm not in a rush. I'm just,
no, you're
this
good,
is a powerful machine, you guys. I gotta be careful.
Yeah, so you can actually move about maybe like an inch per second. So just very nicely, you know, don't have to worry about going crazy with it. Take your time. Right. You're in control of the machine.
Gotcha. This is like a Shelby right here, and this is crazy. Okay. All right. There we go. There you go.
Yeah, looks good. So pretty much once your product looks somewhat like this, then that's when, you know, you can stop, wipe it off with your microfiber towel, inspect the results. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So I have a microfiber towel here. All right. And I'm just gonna wipe off your product. Now we did mention that we did go with a less aggressive measure. Now, one thing right off the bat, you can see that in this section that you just did, you have much more depth, much more clarity. It did knock off about, I would say, 60% of the scratches and swirls, which is a great before and after for me. So we can go ahead and grab our light here. We can compare the two.
Oh yeah, the shine gloss factor is improved greatly.
Exactly. So you have more depth to the paint. It looks better. You still have some deeper scratches and swirls, which, you know, obviously we can take care of if we were to go with something more aggressive. But even just with something like this, that took you, what, no longer than 30, 45 seconds or so?
Yes, yeah, it was easy.
Pretty great results, pretty quick, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And then at this point, you kind of, you know, gauge what you're gonna need. So at this point of the process, you can either say, hey, you know what? I'm happy with this result. This is what I want. Do the whole thing with V36, orange pad, and this combination of product, and you're good to go. Right. But since we want that, you know, that ultimate clarity, we're gonna go ahead and, you know, do the work.
Awesome.
So we're gonna go ahead and grab some V34 hybrid compound, something a bit more aggressive, and do the exact same section. That way we can kind of gauge how much more it'll do for the surface that we're working on. All right, guys, and we are back. We have just finished polishing up the truck. Took us a couple of hours, took us a couple guys, but what do you think, Michael?
I am absolutely blown away. Like, the truck came, it got delivered from the transport, and my heart sank. I mean, this truck means a lot to the family. It means a lot to my brother, and it was trashed. And I called Chemical Guys, and here we are.
Here we are. There we go.
It's stunning. Like, I'm blown away. Thank you.
It looks really great. The paint's extremely smooth, and we want to keep it this way, right? So what better way to do that than by applying a ceramic coating like HydroSlick? Because after all this long work, the last thing that we want to do is not apply anything, drive it around, bird takes a turd on the hood. There's no protection on there. It's going to etch right through, stain it, and it's not going to be a nice day. So we want to make sure that to protect the paint. That way we have the best shine, the protection to prevent the harsh UV rays from discoloring it, fading it in the in the long run. It's gonna make drying, washing a lot easier as far as maintenance. So this right here, an extreme key component for paint care.
Awesome.
So we were talking off camera. You were talking that you've applied HydroCharge before.
Yes.
You haven't particularly used this product.
Nope, first time.
So this product right here, it's like HydroCharge. However, this is in a gel form. So that's why we labeled it a hyper wax. So it's a hyper formulated ceramic coating in a wax-like form. So it takes the ease of use and application of a wax. However, it's a ceramic coating.
Awesome.
So it's very easy to apply. I usually recommend starting off with about 3-4 drops. Now, I usually like to start off with this amount of drops just because what ends up happening with this product is that it soaks into the microfiber strands and then it gets nice and evenly distributed on there so that you're not going to have to apply 4 drops for every panel that you do.
Oh, great.
So this right here is kind of like priming it. So this is going to just coat the microfiber strands. That way, the next panel that you do, you're not going to have to put 4 drops. You probably put like 1, maybe 2 at most.
Cool.
And that also prevents you from wasting product, and it also allows you to have a nice even layer that you're going to be able to buff off very quickly, very easily, without any kind of hassle.
Awesome.
So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to you. Yeah, you see the little globs, how they're like nice and gel-like.
All right. All right. So I'm assuming this is a standard crosshatch application process.
So this one right here, crosshatch motion, left and right. Same thing, kind of like the machine, kind of blotted out in the area that you're going to be applying it to.
Oh, okay, great.
And then left and right.
Great.
Now, one of the things about this product, Michael, is that you don't want to do the entire hood at once.
Okay.
Because it's a ceramic and it hardens on the surface. So the last thing that you want to do is do the whole hood and then come back wiping it off, because by the time you do the whole hood, it's already been like 2 or 3 minutes later. The product's already starting to dry onto the surface.
Wow,
so
okay.
In this scenario, you want to stay in control of the product, better way to do that is, you know, 2x2 section. Me personally, with some experience on using this product, I usually do half the hood.
Oh, okay.
And then you can pretty much do the, you know, wipe it off and then do the other half. But
cool.
You never want to, you know, do the entire car and then come back around because, you know, it's ceramic, it's going to harden. It's going to be a tough day.
All right. Now, you may have already mentioned this, but I was concentrating on my cross-hatching that. Yeah. Is there a curing time that we leave it there? Let's say, you know, you get it done quickly within that 2 minutes. Exactly. How long are we waiting?
So usually the flash time for a product like this is anywhere from about 30 seconds up to 2 minutes.
Okay.
So you do not want to let it sit on the surface for longer than 2 minutes because it's going to harden. So in this case, you know, it's kind of a warm day today, not so hot in here as it is outside. So in this case, I would let this sit for anywhere from about 45 seconds to a minute.
Okay, great.
If it's really hot where you're at, if you're, you know, in Arizona or something like that, you're in your garage, you're dripping sweat, then you may want to let it sit for like 30 seconds before wiping it off.
Cool.
Now in this case, usually by this point, you can kind of look at the product, you kind of see it kind of hazes up a little bit. And once it does, just grab yourself a nice premium microfiber towel and you can go ahead and wipe it right off. You wipe it right off, comes right off, no problem. And you can also flip it around to another side of your towel just to ensure that you wipe off everything completely. And you're all done. It's as easy as that. And then pretty much everything else is just mimicking that all around the car.
Awesome.
So right now, what you want to go ahead and do is pretty much continue with the rest of the hood.
Yeah, that looks great.
We'll go section by section. And one thing I did forget to mention before I forget, guys, you can apply this to paint. You can apply it to smooth glossy surfaces like your headlights, your glass, your wheels, and pretty much anything in between. All right, guys, and that pretty much wraps it up. Michael, what do you think?
Outstanding. Thank you guys so much. This is going to be so amazing, and I cannot wait to surprise Kev with this.
I cannot wait to see his reaction.
It has not looked this good since day one, so
yeah, so
very impressive. It's
safe to say that this hasn't looked as good since he's got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So we're pretty much all wrapped up. We've pretty much, you know, washed it, we clayed it, we polished it. We hit it with the entire V-line, and then we hit it with some HydroSlick, and that's the final result. It looks incredible. The depth, the color, the shine, the sleekness, it looks fantastic. So that's gonna wrap it up for that. You know, it's protected, it's shining, and we pretty much accomplished our mission today. Now what we're gonna go ahead and do is condition the plastics, the tires, and all the other stuff. You know, this truck does have plastic bumpers on the front, on the back, your side mirrors and all that. The undercarriage, we did clean it, you know, during the first episode of this video. So I'm gonna show you guys some bare bones. So that's gonna wrap it up for us. We're gonna go ahead and finish up all the other stuff off camera. So stay tuned to see the result of this truck, and then also make sure to stay tuned to get Kevin's reaction when we deliver this car to him.
Yes, it'll be a few days for us, but in movie magic time, it'll be right now. Oh boy. Mom. So we took the car over to Gardenia to their shop, and Jason and Joey over there, who make their YouTube videos, worked on it for 8 hours.
Holy!
Let's get the keys and pull it out. You got to see it in the light.
All the scratches are gone. Wow! Holy!
Oh yeah,
those
that's right.
guys
Don't touch
are amazing.
So it's Joey and Jason.
Worked on it for 8 hours.
They make their videos and do all the how-to stuff that chemicalguys does for free on their YouTube channel, telling people how to do their own car detailing. All the hydro stuff they put on this, and then they wipe it down with Hydro Speed ceramic detailer after that, and yeah, it's just beautiful. You know, it's not a show car,
No,
but
it's a work truck.
but yeah.
Nope. Looks amazing. They did an amazing job. Thank you for all your hard work, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Uncle Kevin loves it.